Hello, everybody. How is it going? This is Nick Frentera here. Welcome to episode 107 of the Hideout, where we will be discussing Web3 gaming and the Metaverse as we keep pushing forward in another year, another crazy market, and a lot of innovation. For those of you who don't know me, I am one of the founders and the CEO of Apollo Entertainment, the company behind the Satoshiverse and the Legions 2029 game. For those, I see a lot of new faces. So for those who aren't familiar with Satoshiverse, we've been building since 2020. It started off as a comic IP where we were telling the story of Satoshi becoming a superhero, and it evolved into our game, Legions 2029, which is a fast-paced roguelike hack and slash game. So it's a high fidelity game for PC. It's free to play, and it's fully integrated with the blockchain. Progress and items are stored as NFTs. I won't go too deep into it because I think you can check out the pinned tweet at the top of the spaces, which has some gameplay footage and tells you everything you need to know to start playing. We're currently in a community alpha, and it is free to play. There's lots of NFT prizes that you can earn. There's a battle pass that's currently free, and yeah, lots of cool stuff going on right now as we push towards a more public launch of the game and further development. Today, we have an awesome group of speakers, kind of from all different walks of the space. We're going to be talking about a bunch of cool topics. What we'll do first is I'll have everybody introduce themselves, give us a quick introduction of what you're building. If you have a video or something showing gameplay, please feel free to post it to the top of the spaces, as that's always good to kind of show everybody where to find you and what the best way of joining the project is. But other than that, let's jump in. Why don't we go? Just gonna go in order. We've got Pirate Nation here. Welcome to the spaces. Tell us a little bit.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Jonathan, the community marketing lead for Pirate Nation. We're the fully on-chain adventure RPG built by Proof of Play, a company that builds fully on-chain games, including Pirate Nation, and fully on-chain infrastructure. We're deep in the throes of season 3. We have some fun stuff coming up soon. New features dropping almost every week, really. But check us out. If you like the idea of booty, and you like the idea of piracy, come check out Pirate Nation. It's a casual RPG, very easy to get started. And anyone that wants to jump in, you can use my code Jonathan's Crew to sign up, and I'll personally help you on board.
Amazing. Well, as a big fan of Booty, I am excited to have you guys on. Congratulations on all the success you've been having so far since your launch. I know it's one of the projects I've been following and doing some great stuff. So if you don't know, definitely check them out. Let's hop over to a little bit different angle and go over to Yeehaw Games. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for inviting us. We were actually approached through like the official account to join the show, and it's actually on Chinese New Year. But I think this is a fantastic crew, so I have to join this. And then so yeah, saying hi from the holiday and then wish everyone a happy new year. And we're basically investing in the gaming sphere in Asia. So Iha Games is initially backed by Bybit Exchange, and we are also incubating and co-working with one of the greatest like Web2 gaming studios, and we are becoming their bridge and their gateway into Web3 industry. So we have worked with Tencent and also Shanda Games into their world of building either MMORPG game. I would also want to introduce we've been cooking with Line. We are doing with Kaya Chain. Basically, also we made into the first batch 20 games, and we had like 2 games feature the famous IP from Japan. It's called Shin-Chan, so it's kind of like a memory of a lot of Asian people. And what we are doing is trying to onboard more people into Web3 through the gaming channel, and then co-working with these gaming studios and helping, them to launch their first Web3 game. So yeah, I'd like to share the information here, and really glad to participate in today's discussion in a platform point of view and see, what are the possible synergies that we have. Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining on the holiday. I know, for us, the Asian market is such an incredible group of gamers who are also, excited about new technology. We were out in Seoul for Korea Blockchain Week, and then in Singapore for Token this past year, and just seeing the amount of excitement about the Web3 gaming space, especially in Korea Blockchain Week. I mean, we've done conferences in the U.S. and it's way it seems like it's way more amplified in Asia. So it's super cool to see that level of excitement, and excited to have you guys on. I think we'll be able to do some get into some really cool topics. And appreciate your perspective.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're based in Singapore, by the way.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Singapore. Personally, I love the city. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. I try to go as often as I can. If you haven't been, definitely recommend it. All right, let's jump over to what do we got next? Ascend to the end. I think we have Alexander here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Well, we are a studio. Basically, I'm the founder and CEO of Basiona Studio, and we are working mostly on our flagship title, Ascend the End, which is a dystopian PvPvE shooter, multiplayer shooter, in advanced development stage. It has few unique selling points, like collective narrative, community-driven game, AI agent-powered matches that constantly change the gameplay. So, and we are in exciting period of launching NFT campaign Genesis NFT collection in a month, and going towards TG in this year, hopefully in Q2, and a lot of things is cooking, like beside of the Ascend the End. But this is our main project, and if you like multiplayer shooters, follow us and see what we are doing. Thanks.
I love it. Well, that sounds amazing, and excited to have another game on the spaces and kind of the shooter approach. We have a very small shooter element to our game, but I'm a big fan of shooters myself, so would love to see more. And again, if you have gameplay videos or anything, feel free to pin them to the top of the spaces. All right, let's jump over to Leo at Style Avatar. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for having us. This is Leo here speaking on behalf of Style. Quick intro. Our protocol used to be infrastructure for 3D assets across games and metaverses, which we heavily did last cycle on like Decentraland Sandbox and the back then leading worlds. Currently we're a little bit pivoting into the direction of AI agents and dabbling our feet in this. Specifically, what we've been launching and playing around with is kind of like sentient 3D models that can potentially then be integrated in games as either functional NPCs or also playable characters. And I think what's really what I'm really passionate about and what I find really exciting is this the creation of initial 3D assets for users to kind of like unleash their creativity for whatever game or virtual world they desire.
Yeah, it's that's definitely a subject that I hold near and dear. I came into this space through Decentraland a long time ago, and it's been cool to see some of the early builders in Decentraland start to kind of pioneer their own path, outside of the existing metaverses. I know Nifty Island just released some really cool AI 3D or AI avatar capabilities, which are exciting. I think it's only being rolled out in a limited capacity right now, but it's exciting to think about the potential of custom NPCs, especially when you start to look at text to 3D and image to 3D generators, which are just getting better and better. The potential to have in a couple days a sentient 3D NPC that matches your brand is, I know as a production studio, something that probably would have taken months. Can the pipeline is starting to emerge to do it so much more quickly. So it's really cool. I mean, I think it's gonna really revolutionize how we experience games and tailored digital experiences in the metaverse. And so yeah, super cool. Excited to learn more and dive into some questions there. All right, so last but definitely not least, let's jump over to Spencer to cover some housekeeping items and then take us into the questions.
What is going on, everyone? Apologies up front. I lost my voice. I'm at a Sundance Film Festival, and I've been trying to talk to people at all these parties, and my voice can't handle it. So you get this raspy voice for today. So once again, apologies. But my name is Spencer. I am the business development manager here with Satoshiverse and with Apollo Entertainment. Uh, yeah, I'm hearing it too. I'm seeing the last in the audience, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. Um, anyway, basically, I'm gonna be asking all of the questions on today's space. And real quick, I'm gonna go through some housekeeping items. So the first thing that I'm going to do is pin a tweet to the top of the space. There we go. So I just pinned that tweet. We do a giveaway every week on the Hideout, and we are giving away 5 Satoshi's crystals, which is one of the main in-game resources within the Satoshiverse. You need that in order to upgrade all of your in-game items and avatars. Very, very important resource, something you definitely want to have. In order to enter that giveaway, all you have to do is repost that tweet that I just posted at the top of the space, and then still be here at the end when we choose a winner. So good luck, everyone. And moving on to kind of the next part, we are going to start out with a group question for everyone. I'll call on someone to start, and then feel free to just jump in from there. No need to raise hands or anything like that. Then we'll move into some individual questions for each of you guys. And then, yeah, if we have some time at the end, we'll do another group question. So if that all sounds good, we will get going. So maybe on the first question here, we can have Pirate Nation start us out. But the question is, what role do you see virtual and augmented reality playing in shaping the future of Web3 gaming and the metaverse?
In a personal level, and I say this as I work for Proof of Play, and our CEO also is a partner in a fund that has invested. It's called Presence Capital, invested in VR and AR. I don't see it having a role for the foreseeable future. The reason why is the adoption of every version of VR and AR. The curve is it's too steep. The adoption, or sorry, well, shallow, whatever, logarithmic, not exponential. The adoption curves are just never sharp enough to make it worth it. I mean, look at Apple. They put out the Vision Pro. Tons of people tried it out, but a ton of people sent it back, such that this was supposed to be like the flagship breakthrough device is going to bring VR into the mainstream, which we've heard before, and it didn't happen. So I just don't see. It's just another form factor. I'm not like anti VR, anti AR on principle. I actually think AR is really cool. It's just that the form factor is really difficult to make work at scale for actual interaction. So I don't see it happening. If it does happen, then you can imagine there's going to be a very vibrant world of marketplace activity for little bits and bobs, whether you're decorating your home or putting monsters in your city skyline, or selling your characters or clothes or skins over the world, things like that. There are all kinds of items that you could sell, and obviously you put on the blockchain. And if you are the vendor of that or the marketplace of that, then you get all those fees. But I just don't see thematically relevant overlap between these categories at this time.
Anyone else want to jump in on this one before I start rambling?
What was it? Was the question regarding like VR acceptance or VR usage in near future?
Kind of the intersection between how VR and AR are going to affect the metaverse and Web3.
Uh,
I might even
I,
say we should reverse the question and say how would Web3 and the affect.
I think I'll agree partially with my previous speaker on this. I think I used to be super bullish on VR, but it's just been taking too much time, and the adoption curve, as mentioned, is steep. They're still kind of expensive for the average Joe. I see it long term still bullish happening, but not in the near future. And AR actually, hot take. I actually think AR we're skipping completely. I think AR is kind of like that wannabe thing that could be cool, but it doesn't really have enough usage or places where it can truly make a difference. I think it's still going to be around, but when we actually see VR exploding, maybe 10 years from now, I don't know. I think we'll completely skip the whole AR thing. I just don't see where it would be important enough once VR is mass ready to prefer AR over VR, except for maybe decorating, uh, your potential living room when you're visiting IKEA or something. But other than that, maybe architecture, planning, I don't see it.
Okay. I think rarely do I ever strongly disagree with our speakers, just out of principle. But I think part of it is I think that I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to change the question. I think that the idea I agree with the speakers on the sense that things are taking too long for anything in our immediate line of sight for VR and AR to really affect our current iteration of Web3 gaming and the metaverse. So on that part, I agree. I think I disagree on, well, I guess the relative importance of AR and VR. For one, I think AR has the potential to be kind of a paradigm shifting technology. I think VR will likely be more of an entertainment product. My thesis for AR is that it's going to replace the cell phone, and that cell phones are going to become, visionary devices. We're going to have turn-by-turn directions in AR. We're going to have overlays displaying coupons. The retail use cases, I think, are what are really going to shine for AR and the ability to, gamify shopping experiences, a lot of the things that we already have on our phones, step counters, exercise, workout, things that are going to show you how to do things appropriately in the gym, help you track things. I think that, personally, my thesis on AR is that it's going to be probably one of the biggest, shifts in how we go day to day. Now, I think that's where I agree is that I think that's a little bit away. I think that the challenge is hardware. I don't think that the challenge is necessarily design or idea. I think the reality was that the Apple Vision Pro was a horrible product, and for all of its capabilities, it didn't have any product market fit, and I think that's why it failed. I think that we're going to see, and we already are seeing, much more wearable AR specific devices that will, catch on, and just like headphones for audio caught on for calls and things like that, and noise reduction and all these things. The hardware definitely needs to catch up. But I think once the hardware does catch up, once we have AR, then the question just becomes, well, is there anything that's digital that needs to be ownable, right? And is there value creation in making something tangibilized and ownable? And I think that's where Web3 at its core comes in, right? For digital assets and that's what Web3 does, is it makes things more tangible and gives you rights and ownership privileges over those things. So I guess my vision for VR as an entertainment product is that we're going to be able to experience things in VR that just aren't able to be replicated in video games or on a TV or on a flat screen. I think that at that point, even if you're just thinking about digital art or 3D art, the possibilities for ownability there, experiences, really just blowing people's minds are endless. I think that unfortunately, the incentivization model hasn't formed yet to really probe creators to create the type of experiences that will blow our minds. But I've had, a few different experiences in VR that nothing on a TV screen has even come close to. And I think that once that doesn't make you nauseous, and once that doesn't require this heavy headset that needs to be plugged into a cord, I think we're going to get to a point where VR units start to become more mainstream. But I do agree we're probably further away from that than Meta would have liked us to be, when they announced the shift in focus. And then I think that, from AR, I kind of see it as a completely different thing. I don't think AR is necessarily going to be a big entertainment boon. I think it's going to be for retail, and I think we're going to start to realize that the combination of AI and AR is just going to make human beings moment to moment, exponentially more efficient than they are now. And I think for that reason alone, it will succeed. But I think it's a matter of getting the hardware to a point where it's not inhibitive. And just my two sats on that one. But yeah, I'm still very bullish on AR. It's just a longer term longer scale that we need to get there. Anyone else want to jump in? I know we had one or two other speakers.
I would say I'm in between, just to add up. Yeah, I think there is like a long time we need to wait for the proper hardware until we are using our hand and our phone to look through air, to come to air, or the silly huge equipment which is super expensive. Yeah, we're just not there. What I want to just to in when we are speaking about metaverses, he said like we already had one, and that was the World of Warcraft. Like in terms of what is actually what would eventually be the successful metaverse. So yeah, not sure. I think we are far away, and I think we a little bit like lose focus there on how it should look like, and how it should actually work at the end. That's it.
Go ahead, Yeehaw.
Hey, I just want to add some more of the user experience type of answer. So I went to the Vision OS and the creators. Basically, they're the app developers for VRs, and although they are not totally on Web3, I can feel that in some of the social applications that they are aiming at building this kind of interactive experiences. For example, you will have a virtual living room, I will have another virtual living room, and we can go to the spaces of each other's and having that interaction. So for example, if we are remotely working in different spaces, we can still go very smoothly into each other's spaces. And then I felt that that kind of reminds me not only we can have this kind of interaction only in a game, or for example, if we are set to play a game, we probably go to some certain spaces as we scheduled, or where we agreed. But with that kind of headset, or like that kind of experiences, it is almost like an interactive or gamified kind of living experiences. For example, you will have this kind of virtual living room in your actual living room, and also have some virtual items and the thing that you want to show to people. And that kind of creates the kind of day to day, or more like a daily gamified experience. I think that's what was very impressive in the Vision OS creators meeting. And still there's gonna be one in Asia like this March, so I'm gonna still be there. But yeah, this is kind of like the impressive feelings that I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think that when we start to think about what AR actually means, it's interesting as well, right? You look at Pokemon Go, for example, which generally speaking is one of the more successful uh, games in kind of defining a genre. That's on your phone, obviously, and it's an AR game, but it's limited to the extent that it is on your phone, and there's a hardware limitation there. So you know, I think that the takeaway here is we're not even close, right? I think everyone can kind of agree on that. And I feel strongly about that too. It's disappointing, honestly, how far it feels like we are. But I think in 10 years, which on the the grand scheme of time, we're going to look back and we'll probably be at least a lot closer than we are now. I don't know that I see hardware development calming down on the AR VR side. I mean, you go to these conferences and you start to see the prototypes, and there's still companies spending billions on millions, depending on the companies, but on this tech and trying to make it better and trying to make it more integrated. I do think that there's bigger themes right now. You look at AI, which has kind of taken over everybody's mind share, and robotics, I think, is going to be another huge theme as we move into, the Optimus, models and all of the different competitors that are competing to create, robots that can perform basic tasks and human functions. And I think that might capture a bit of people's mind share more than, augmented digital experiences, at least in the short term. Um, but I think they're all going to play a role together. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff happen, and I think Web3. Just going back to the question, I think Web3 comes into play whenever there's an ownability aspect or an authentication aspect of digital things. And so, generally speaking, as these things enhance the role of digital in our lives, I think Web3 will continue to be relevant in that. So I guess unless someone wants to jump back in, we can kick it to Spencer and jump into the individual questions.
Your silence, so I will assume it is time to move on. Um, Real quick though, I wanted to announce that one of our speakers up here today, Ascend the End, is giving away um, 10 early access codes to their game at the end of the space. So yeah, I think in order to enter that, just stick around in the space and they'll send you a DM if you're one of the winners. So an extra little surprise for those that are here listening today. So definitely make sure you stick around until the end. Next question is going to go to Jonathan at Pirate Nation. So what do you think are the biggest advantages and disadvantages for games being fully on chain?
Let me start with the disadvantages because there are a few and they are rapidly deteriorating as disadvantages. And by that I mean they're going away. So first off, it's really freaking hard. There's just no up and or down about it. It's really hard. But that's going away because we're solving that problem. Number two, and this is more, it's not that it's a downside. It's just that, everything is a trade-off, and you just have to figure out like, where do you want to land on the trade-off, and can you live with that forever? And if you can't, how can you navigate your way to the other side of it? But it is transparency by default. I mean, unless you're using like Alio, we believe in transparency, we believe in accountability, and we believe in interoperability and composability. So we put all of our data on chain. So there's no disputing. So if we put something out there, we have to make sure and triple check everything before it actually gets out to the public chain. To make sure that it's what we want to get out there. So those are the downsides. The upsides, first off, transparency. Like I said, it's a trade-off. It's a double-edged sword. So it's good and it's bad sometimes, but primarily it's good. Our players can trust the game. They can trust everything that happens in the game because it's all there. They can all dive into the block explorer and follow things around, and they can see, if they can identify their fellow players, they can start to see what they're doing and maybe ape trade, the same, like copycat them or go in a different direction. Like they can build all kinds of products and apps on top of our game. And then by extension, as we build out our infrastructure and make that open to more developers, we're already doing it now with On-Chain Heroes and Gigaverse. They'll be using our random number generator. That's our on-chain random number generator, basically called VRF. More and more apps can link together more smoothly, especially if they're, not to show, but like our mirroring solution. We built out the tech where you can read what's on another chain without forcing players to bridge. I mean, how many bridge hacks have there been? I think like 3 or 4 years ago, it was like every week there was a new bridge hack for tons of money. So, we're trying to like basically just antiquate bridging by virtue of having mirroring. So, long-winded answer, but when you're fully on chain, you just get all these new superpowers you don't get with traditional game development. You don't have to build and maintain an API. You don't have to make changes based on other people's API changes. I don't know how many developers in the audience, but literally just go up to them and say API changes and watch them like squirm, because it's the most annoying, one of the most annoying things in technology is when an API updates and suddenly your whole value system, your whole flow in your product stops working because of one little API update that a developer, third party failed to communicate in advance. So, there's a ton of value there to be unlocked through on-chain. And I highly encourage all developers to think about it. Like, we're trying to make it so that on-chain becomes easier than off-chain to build and maintain. So highly recommend developers consider it when they're building their products, apps or games.
So I have a short follow-up question, just because I think, one of the challenges with, on-chain gaming, and from a user perspective, and I've kind of noticed this talking to others about it, is that people define on-chain and fully on-chain differently. And I think one of the major questions, and one of the challenges I think we've seen in the NFT space at least, is the ability to store game ready assets on chain, right? The idea that the game doesn't need backend servers to call the assets that are being used in the game. And I guess I'm curious on your perspective there. If you're seeing solutions form that would allow games to not be limited by only the metadata standards that currently exist in the EVM ecosystem, for example. I'm sure you can go to other blockchains and there may be things there, but for example, it's a bit challenging to put a high fidelity 3D asset on chain, right? That as far as I'm aware, there's not a great way of doing that. So how does that evolve? How's that kind of idea of fully on chain, that this game could operate fully without the support of kind of centralized backend servers? How does that kind of coexist with these challenges with data storage?
Yeah, I mean that's really tricky. It's a hard thing to do. There are very few blockchains out there optimized for storage of heavy files. Art gets fat over time because you want to do cool stuff. You want to add animations. You want to make it sparkle. You want to add granular level detail. Our game is based on voxels, which is like the fundamental unit of the fundamental unit of 3D. And voxels, basically just like a 1 by 1 by 1 cube. And it's very flexible. It's like Legos. You can do whatever you want with it. But also, 3D, look at 3D files. Like go, if you have a download on your PC, go dig in and look at the file sizes. They're pretty massive. And then you look at the average, transaction size on chain, and realize that it's like, we're talking like bytes and kilobytes versus like gigabytes at times. It's not easy. So, full transparency, to my knowledge, our artwork is stored in IPFS, which we feel is sufficiently decentralized. Like, we're not keeping it from anybody. It's out there on an open network that has sustained itself and maintained itself over many years. If there is an on-chain solution for the artwork, that's great. We would happily use that. And based on our mirroring tech, we could read that chain, pull the data, and load it. That would probably make the game really slow, though. So before we adopt that, we need a lot more technology built out for that. That said, the other side of it is, I guess, there's on-chain, there's fully on-chain, and then there's sufficiently on-chain, to kind of think of these different buckets. We're as far as I've understood, we're one of the most fully on-chain games out there. But the point is that the game itself, the game logic, operates through smart contracts. So if we get swept away, IPFS goes away, the game still exists. People could still call contracts. People could still build apps and clients on top of the game logic, the game code that exists. And I think that's what's really important, is that ownership is there, that record is there. If you can go find the artwork on IPFS and re-download it and upload it to a different alternative network, then by all means, you're free to do that. We're not going to stop you. If the game, if Pirate Nation Proof of Play goes away, you can easily fork it into Ninja Nation, Space Nation, Farmer Nation, anything you want. You can do that now if you want it. So it's out there. I mean, we still own the rights to our art, so it's not like it's CC0. Anyone can do whatever they want, commercialize it, but it is accessible for people to play with and use for the purposes of extending the game and extending the game universe.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I've always been of the mind frame that decentralization within gaming is a spectrum, and it's needs based, right? And that there's going to be certain genres where much more of the game should be on chain. I mean, you look at the gambling genre and the ability to do ZK proofs for random number generators, or like you guys are building out with the, I think you said VRM, or but yeah, just like being able to provably create random numbers for games where that really matters and people care, right? And I think that there's certain genres where people care a lot more than other genres, and so yeah, it's fascinating to kind of see the hybridization that's happening in on-chain gaming, and just the account abstraction, and all of the user enhancements, and kind of the trade-off for decentralization there. So yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that perspective. It's really cool. I think you guys, like you said, are an extremely good example of how to do at least a lot on chain, like most, if not everything on chain, very, very well. And I think that, it's great to have that sort of experimentation and help to think through those issues, as, I think you guys are doing also the other side of it, which is, putting your learnings into products that other developers can use. And I think that's fundamental, and it's so important for the development of the space. So thank you for that. I guess back to Spencer.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So the next individual question is going to go to Leo. So what challenges do creators face when integrating UGC or user-generated content into decentralized platforms, and how can these be addressed?
What problems do creators face when integrating UGC content into platforms? I don't understand the question. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, so integrating UGC into decentralized platforms, Web3 platforms in general. So yeah, kind of just the general challenges that creators face when building their own content in the Web3 space, and
Yeah.
how can some of those things be addressed?
Um, from a platform perspective, let's look at Abstract that launched. What was it, yesterday? Today? My timeline's becoming fucking blurry with DeepSeek, Trump token, and all the shit that's been going on just in January. But if you look at what they've been doing, they're doing this and I haven't tried it myself. I've just seen it from what people are using it for. It's kind of like this streaming platform where people can stream, and then the Abstract token is somehow integrated. The biggest backlash that I've just seen from what people are saying is that the website's crashing and it's not properly functioning. So the very obvious problem here for companies is that, especially if you're like a startup-ish company with limited funds and you don't have the treasury of, let's say, Meta or Apple, then it's a lot of data that potentially you have to run at the same time. Streaming is a lot of network, and there's a lot that can potentially go wrong if you scale up, right? If people stream on a platform and that's user generated content, and then if you have people engaging with this via chat or potentially gifting or whatnot, what you have on TikTok, and then on Abstract you have the whole like blockchain layer on top of it, and all of this needing to potentially be verified. And blockchains are, I don't know about Abstract, but probably faster than Ethereum, but still probably not as fast as an off-chain transaction would be. So there's a lot of data and a lot of stuff that you need to configure at the same time that could crash when you scale up. So that's a challenge. And then another challenge from the more social aspect of things is that anytime you build a platform that has a social element, you need to attract not only the initial creators, but also have them bring their audience. Otherwise, it quickly becomes, a desert, and a social platform that's a desert is just not a product. It's not a social platform. It's just that. So that's a huge challenge on the social side.
Yeah, I definitely agree on, on more of the promotory and informational content side. I guess when I hear this question, my mind goes to I was a IP lawyer before I started doing all this, and one of the big interesting things for me was how does IP ownership work in a decentralized space, and how do you manage IP rights? And I know 2021, 2022 NFT boom. There were a lot of trends that were emerging with projects, giving limited grants to their communities to leverage that IP, but only in certain ways. Some were more, open than others. But I think ultimately, one of the challenges, at least in my perspective, is how do you create the right economic incentives around UGC creation, specifically within this kind of niche community, right? And I think that incentivization can be decentralized. It can be a crypto-based incentivization system, a la what Abstract is doing. But I think it also can operate with more standard business models. I think that, again, for me at least, when we're thinking about these things, we need to recognize that there's a spectrum of decentralization. I think if we try to force things to be fully decentralized, sometimes we create conflicts with things like UGC, where you have creators that want to have rights over what they're creating, and then AI and the ability to use AI to create things starts to create an additional debate there. But I think, for at least in my mind, the biggest challenge is the incentivization model, creating one that works for continued contribution to the decentralized space, whether that's content, on the YouTube side or the social media side, or whether that's assets that are going to fill a metaverse, or code that's going to help push forward the next smart contract standard. I think that oftentimes the incentivization models are a little bit too financialized, and it's very speculative. And so I think the token model is one good way of doing it, but I think that as the space begins to consolidate, and we stop seeing as much experimentation and more kind of adoption of industry standards, we'll probably see business models emerge for user contributions to the decentralized space that makes sense. And I think we're getting close to that. I think we've seen a lot of progress over that in the last couple of years.
All right. Well, I will move us along to the next individual question. Next one is going to go to Alexander. So how do you think AI agents can be used to enhance the gameplay experience for players?
Well, it's a great question, because there's like a huge hype around it, and I think we're just scratching the opportunities here. But I would start from the end, what we are actually doing and how we see current state of AI and how it can help us. First of all, we implement the AI agent as a game master of our game, and we will gradually, obviously, give him the APIs to change the state of our game, and it can do in real time changes, change the matches, change the environment, change the amount of loot, amount of NPCs, change the goals, and What AI agent can do, how it can differentiate it from hard-coded just randomness, is he can create a real-time narrative around why these changes are as it is, backed by the backstory of our game, and share these changes and these small stories on daily basis on X, for instance. And then when he creates a daily challenge or weekly challenge, he shares the results, and basically have this constant communication with the community, which is something could be done, but it's much more efficient, and it is much faster with AI agent. This is just one thing that we are implementing at this moment, and while going further, we see the huge opportunities, and we are actually building the foundation for constant in-game communication with AI agent that can help you in battle. For instance, imagine you're running inside of the match, and instead of just typing something or opening a map for the airstrike, you just say to your companion that like you're ambushed and that you want to airstrike or you want to hack some system. And this is something that we're really exciting, and we see that AI agent fit there. And of course, there is a process of development for us. It helps us a lot for the generative AI. This is not AI agents. This is just AI in general, generative AI, helping us in concept creation, in helping us in development. So there is like a huge bunch of opportunities out there, and we are super bullish on AI.
Yeah, I think every time I start to think about AI agents in games, it gets me excited. I think the level of immersion just in variety, you have a great game, a game that you really like. After a while, you beat it, and after a while, you've kind of covered the spectrum of what can happen in that game. And AI has the potential to make those games infinite, and I think that's kind of to your point where AI can autonomously change conditions of the game in a way that makes sense with the lore, and I think that's so cool. I think that's going to be such a big advancement. I'm excited to see some of these AAAs that are working on AI agents and NPCs. Particularly, I'm really excited about the new Grand Theft Auto when that comes out. What would the potential of that, for an evolving metaverse with AI integration could be insane. So yeah, it's definitely awesome.
Yes, huge amount of opportunities are out there, and we have this kind of randomness involved in automatically generated maps and levels and this, but where AI can make a difference is exactly that. Like he can make even the story and the narrative, and he can reach up this randomness and these dynamics that we have in some games. And yeah, there's a bunch of opportunities there.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm going to move on to our final individual question here for Yeehaw Games. So, how can Web3 game developers benefit from fully integrated game launchers and incubators like Yeehaw Games?
Yeah, I think that's a really big question. So we are an entity composed of the publishing entity as well as incubation and investment, also the promotion to certain regional markets, and definitely we are growing from APAC Singapore specifically, and we're also well connected to the Mandarin speaking market, and also East Asia. We do have the publishing markets and the IPs as well. So I think from stages, the developers and also the teams, they get supported from us from different stages. For example, we do heavily participate in some of the early stage incubation of some of the largest games, for example, like Metacine, backed by us, and also Binance Labs. And also from a very early stage, we are facilitating the part of gaming design, as well as the tokenomics design, and the product incubation, as well as the go to market. That's actually a very, I would say, involved and also a really engaged participating session. And besides that, I think for the other developers, you will also get the stages that you choose. So, for example, not only this kind of game will be helped, also some of the other early stage and smaller teams can be assisted by us as well. And you can also choose the pattern of collaboration. It doesn't have to be like from the get-go, but also from the kind of customized services that we think would be mutually beneficial to the team and us. And also, I think another important question I see from this question is that how can developers be empowered by us, not only from the early stage, like, or large scale teams, is that they are able to find the best product market fit from us, because we're currently in a heavy collaboration with some of the large ecosystem, like in talk with Line, and also having some of the first games online and some other ecosystem. We're able to identify, for example, for Asia market, what is the need here, and what is the user habit here, and also what are these like major chains in Asia are looking for. And especially when it comes to mass adoption, I think not only gaming, but also Web3 gaming, we all want more users to be onboarded to our platform. Not only the Web3 gamers, but also in general people who are on the applications, such as Line or Telegram. They can all have this kind of sense of getting into our application or tapping into our games and see what's new over there. And our ability of doing commercialization and advertisements on these certain platforms can also empower these kind of go-to-market actions for these developer teams. But I think when it comes to certain teams, I believe that you are building very different games as well. And then we think that there can be like a really case by case discussion, or different kind of like proposals if we work with certain teams. Yeah, but in general, we're quite open into the different stages of the development of a project, as well as our understanding of the Asia market, and also a more how to do better commercialization on certain ecosystem. Yeah, this will be like our take. And right now, I think it's more like to see the synergies between what's the teams better can do. For example, like I just want to share a brief example on how we collaborate with Shanda Games, which is the incubator, also like behind Medicine Game. That they were very actually a lot of the games they built were the childhood memories of a lot of Asians. And then so definitely we respect all their game making abilities, and we're focusing on how we can better help them with the asset management, as well as how this can be better understood by the global market. And I think it's more of a dynamics, or like the cooperation between different teams, and see to better become a better helper or assistant to the team that we incubate. Yeah, I hope this is not a very long answer, but in general, I'm just trying to be more comprehensive. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We are at the end of our space here, so it is time to pick a winner of the giveaway, and then I'll pass it back to Nick to close us out. So the winner this week of 5 Satoshi's Crystals is Brick It All, or at Brickitall2. Congratulations, Brickitall. In order to claim your prize, please go to game.legions2029.com and create a free account. And then send us a DM with your username, and we'll make sure to drop those into your account. Congratulations once again, and I'll throw it back to Nick.
All right. Well, another great spaces, and Spencer, I hope you get your voice back. And yeah, just thank you so much to the guests for joining us. I know you're all very busy and taking time out of your day, so thank you so much for joining. What we'll do now is just everyone can do a quick sign off, let people know where to find you. Right now, we have at the top of the spaces a few pinned tweets. The first one from Satoshiverse will give you all the information you need to know on our Legions 2029 game, which is free to play. Check it out. Join the community. There's a lot going on here, so definitely check it out. And then, yeah, please do follow the other speakers. If your projects, please, reach out and see if there's ways you can collaborate. I think that's what makes this space special and continue to move forward. But what we'll do is I guess let's start with Pirate Nation, then go to Style, then